Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist and Integrity doing a Gren Maju Golden Castle deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play because you can summon out all sorts of amazing boss monsters that get absolutely massive attack points, like Gren Maju Daiza and some other tech boss monsters we're playing in this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Gren Maju Daiza, which is a crazy powerful boss monster that has a super simple effect that this card's attack and defense are each equal to the number of your banished cards times 400, which can be absolutely massive attack points with cards like the Golden Castle banishing 10 cards and Pot of Desires banishing 10 cards. So this card can get absolutely crazy powerful attack points to help you go in for game. We're then playing 3 copies of Eater of Millions. Eater of Millions is a really good card as well because it summons itself out to your side of the field without wasting your normal summon with the ability that it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 5 or more cards from your hand, field, and or extra deck face down, and it gains 100 attack and defense points for each face down banished card and cannot be tributed, nor used as a fusion, synchro, XZ, or an XZ material. And then once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster face down, which is a really good effect just to get rid of really powerful monsters that your opponent might have. We then play 3 copies of Hexatrude. Hexatrude is a really good card to combo with your copy of the Golden Castle Stormberg because it has the ability, if you have the Golden Castle in your field spell zone, you can normal summon this card without tributing. And then once per turn, if the Golden Castle is in the field spell zone, you can target 1 card on the field except this card and destroy it. And if you do, this card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase's turn. And when this card destroys a monster by battle, you can target 1 face-up monster you control and it gains 400 attack points, which is a pretty good effect to be able to boost one of your monsters up by an additional 400 attack points. We then play 2 copies of Glyph the Phantom Burb. This card is basically just a card that you're going to discard to the graveyard to be able to add the Golden Castle from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect to be able to grab that card directly with this particular card. We then play 3 copies of Alpha the Master of Beasts, which is a great 3 of in the deck to be able to special summon out to your side of the field because this card cannot be normal or set. It has these beasts special summoned from your hand while the total attack points of all your monsters are less than your opponent's monsters, which is really cool that you can just special summon this card to your side of the field that way. It also has a really good effect that you can target any number of beast warrior, or winged beast monsters that you control and return them in the hand, and then return face-up monsters that your opponent controls to their hand equal to the number of cards that you return to your hand, which is a really good effect because then you can just special summon this card back to your side of the field because its special summon effect is not a once per turn, which is really awesome. But it also has the ability that once you return those cards to the hand, this card cannot attack directly this turn, which is a little bit of a downside, but it's totally fine because you can basically just swing through another monster and then normal summon your copy of Gren Maju to be able to attack for game. We then play 3 copies of Danger Bigfoot. Danger Bigfoot is a great 3 of in the deck because it has the ability, just like all of your other danger monsters, that you reveal this card in your hand and your opponent randomly chooses 1 card from your entire hand and discards the chosen card. Then if the discarded card was not Danger Bigfoot, you special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, you get to draw a card. And if this card is discarded, then you get to target a face-up card your opponent controls and destroy it, which is a pretty good effect just to give you a card to pop a card on the field. We then play just a single copy of Danger Thunderbird. I bumped this card down to just 1 copy from when I was playtesting. I playtested it at 2. I really liked it at 2, but I had other cards that I wanted to put in the deck, so I bumped this card down to 1. It has the same exact effect as your Danger Bigfoot, but has the ability, if this card is discarded, you target a set card your opponent controls and you destroy it. We then play 3 copies of Gizmek Orochi. Gizmek Orochi is a really good card because it also banishes cards to be able to get your copy of Gren Maju even bigger because it has the ability that this card's in your hand or graveyard. Quick effect, you can banish 8 cards from the top of your deck face down and then special summon this card, which is really good because it gives us an additional level 8 that we can put on our field. We then play 2 copies of Gandarla, which is a really good kaiju to put on your opponent's side of the field to deal with really powerful monsters that your opponent might have on the field to make it easy to OTK them by attacking into one of the kaijus. We then play 2 copies of Gameciel. Gameciel is also a really good card because it's also a level 8 kaiju that you can put on your side of the field or your opponent's side of the field if your opponent controls a kaiju to give you an additional monster, which is really, really good. Usually you're going to want to summon your copy of Gameciel to your opponent's field and then give yourself the copy of Gandarla, which is really, really good. We then play 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter. Dimensional Shifter is just a really good card overall in this deck because it has the ability, if you have no cards in your graveyard, quick effect, you can send this card from your hand to the grave, and until the end phase of the next turn, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead, which is a great effect to be able to just get every single card banished, because this card can pretty much turn your opponent's entire turn off, which is really, really good depending on what your matchup is. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 2 copies of one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, and that's going to be 2 copies of Pot of Desires. If this card was at 3, I would play it at 3 in this deck, but currently it's at 2, so we can only play 2. You banish the top 10 cards from your deck face down, and then you get to draw 2 cards. But what this card says to me is boost Gren Maju up by 4,000 attack points, and then draw 2 cards, which is really, really insane that this card does that with that card. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is really good alongside our 2 copies of Ready Fusion, because these cards come in extremely handy in the deck, because by just paying 1,000 life points, you can special summon out either a level 6 or a level 5 or lower fusion monster from your X deck, which we're always summoning the same one, which is going to be the Alvain from our X deck, because it is a tuner monster that we can use with any of the level 8s that we have in the deck to be able to make a level 10 synchro, because we have some extremely powerful level 10 synchros that you can make with these cards. We then play 3 copies of Golden Castle of Stormberg. This card is a really insane 3-up, because it has the ability that once per turn, during your opponent's standby phase, you must banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down, and it's not optional or this card is destroyed. And during your main phase, you can special summon out a monster from your deck that specifically lists this card in its text, and you cannot normal summon or set the turn you activate either of these effects. And even if this card leaves the field, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn, and when an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the attacking monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's attack it had on the field, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just do a bunch of damage against the opponent, and it's just a super powerful card in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Trade-In. Trade-In is just a really good card overall because it has the ability to discard a level 8 monster to be able to draw 2 cards, which is really insane because we're playing so many level 8s in the deck. And then finally, we're playing 3 copies of Allure of Darkness because we play so many dark monsters in this deck. To be able to draw 2 and then banish a card is great in this deck to be able to just get you those additional cards. With these cards in the deck, we're playing 8 draw cards, so you're going to be able to get to the exact cards that you need before you start really banishing cards with your copies of Pot of Desires, because you can use these cards first. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of the level 10 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. This card is a really good card in the deck because it's almost like Gren Maju, because it has the ability that for each banished card, this card gains 100 attack and defense, and monsters that your opponent controls lose 100 attack and defense, which is really, really good because just by activating Pot of Desires, this card's going to go up by 1,000 attack points and drop your opponent's monster's attack points by 1,000 attack points. And if this card would be destroyed by a card effect, then you can banish a card from your graveyard instead. And if a card is banished except during the damage step, then you can banish a card from each your opponent's field and graveyard, which comes in very, very handy with all the cards that we have in the deck to be able to banish. We then play a single copy of Ruddy Rose Dragon. Ruddy Rose Dragon is really good for its first effect. If this card is synchro summon, you banish all cards in the graveyards, which is really, really good to be able to get all the cards out of your graveyard so you can go in for a bunch of damage. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is actually the card I make the least out of the 3 of these, so you can drop it if you want to for another level 8 XZ monster, but it does help out every so often to give you that instant negate, which is really, really good. This card also lets you pop a card on the field once per turn, which is a pretty good effect. We then play a single copy of Dingirsu. Dingirsu is a really good card because when it's XZ summon, you can send a card that your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect. One copy of Galaxy Eyes Cypher Dragon. Cypher Dragon is really good because it helps you step into your copy of Cypher Blade Dragon, and then finally into your copy of Full Armor Photon Dragon, which is just really, really good to be able to use these cards to be able to pop additional cards on the field. I really, really like the Galaxy Eyes lineup in this deck. We then play a single copy of number 97. 97 is really good because it can summon out other number monsters and then attach one to another, which is really good, which usually you're summoning out your copy of number 38, which can negate spell effects, or you're summoning out your copy of number 100 to make this card absolutely massive, or you're summoning out your copy of number 92. Because number 92 is an extremely defensive card because if this card's involved in a battle, your opponent takes the battle damage instead of you, which is really insane. You can use any of the three of these in this build. It's really good to play all three of them because you have some options in the deck that if you need something to negate spells, you have this. If you need a big beat stick, you summon out the number 100, or if you need a more defensive card, you summon out the number 92. And the way this actually works is you detach a material, you summon both of them to the field, and you attach one to the other one, which is really, really cool. We then play a single copy of Pain Gainer. Pain Gainer is just a really neat card because you can XZ summon this card on top of a 8, 9, or 10 Dark XZ monster with 2 or more materials, which is really good to be able to attach that card or attach those materials to this card because it helps you make your copy of Zeus, which Zeus is just a really awesome card to help you board wipe the field, then normal summon Gren Maju and help you go in for game. We then play 2 copies of Allvain. Allvain is just really neat in the deck because you can make this card super easy with instant fusion or ready fusion, then use any level 8 that you want to use to be able to go in for any of your synchro monsters that we play in the deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a super fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Golden Castle Gren Maju, I definitely recommend it because it's just super fun to be able to play, especially with all the monsters that you play that just get absolutely massive, like your copy of Supreme Sovereign, your Eater of Millions, and even Gren Maju So anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.